The Great Recession of 2008, I realized how important it is to have multiple streams of income to support my family and expand my charitable giving. In this adventure, I'm not alone. Today, nearly 50% of Americans have multiple revenue sources. This is why I'm hosting Streams, a show dedicated to why people have pursued work beyond their 9 to 5s. Hey, glad to be back. John Brawless here, and welcome to the 9th episode of Streams. And hope everybody's doing really well. And thank you for coming in at a special time. Moving things to 7:30 this week, so that our guest this week was more readily available. And obviously, we're always glad to accommodate. And so, thank you for meeting us here. I do appreciate it. And so, always want to start off with this week's stream of the week. And I've been thinking a lot about this, right? Because I look up a lot of times in preparation for the show. Okay, what are some good side hustles and so on and so forth. And actually, I was just talking with this week's guest backstage a little bit ago, and we kind of ended our conversation along these lines. And then that is being like a social media creator. I mean, not easy to being influencer, but like blogger, you can get to the point of influencing. Mm-hmm. All right. And so then here's the reason why for that, right? Is I believe that everybody has a story to tell and something that's very engaging. And based upon that story that you have, why wouldn't people want to ultimately hear that story? And so blogging and be moving towards the idea of social media influencer is that way. And the other reason why I think that's big is, and I think we'll probably touch on this a little bit during today's show, is kind of getting over your fears of actually putting yourself out there a little bit. And which is, not always, I think that's kind of the biggest reason why people usually don't is, I don't know what, I don't know if I want to put myself on video. I don't know if I want to do this. Okay, well, here's the thing, like in this digital age that we live in, mistakes are just such a beautiful thing. Right. And so if you're going down the blogging route, or like the video blogging route and social media influencing route, and like you're producing content, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, most people don't want it to be perfect. All right. Take, for example, my own show 2 weeks ago when I had Ben Boudreau from Acceleration Fitness on the show, and my microphone kept popping like popcorn. I'm trying to fix it all throughout, but we just kept rolling with it. Right. It wasn't ideal, but it's undeniably human. And so that is one of the reasons why you do have a story. And if you don't mind, why not monetize and capitalize on that story? So that's this week's stream of the week. My guest this week, I had a great time talking to him, in the past little bit, and getting to know his story a little bit, and very excited because he's involved in an industry that is highly needed based upon basically everyone kind of turning away right now from just picking up hand tools and saying, well, I have to go to college. Well, you know what? It's beneficial and so on and so forth. But we're always going to need people who know how to put stuff together and build stuff. And so I love that we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And then in the midst of all that, currently also working on getting into diving into financial advising as well. And so real excited for my guest to come on the show. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Joshua Lange, welcome to Streams.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. First time experience, so this should be a good time.
Yeah, well, hey, and you're going to do great. And I'm real excited for our audience, for our millions of viewers to hear your story. And so let's go ahead and start with that. I'll turn it over to you. And so, give us a little bit of your background. Talk to us a little bit about integrity contracting, how you got into that, and where you see things going from here.
Well, kind of like what your similar situation with you is, got out of school in 2010, right in the peak of the Depression. So there was not too much available with my educational background and having zero experience. So I had an opportunity to start working with a restoration company and got thrown into the thick of things and became the warehouse manager basically overnight. So I took the opportunity to start learning as fast as I could, because that's the one thing I will say going to school and getting an education taught me, was to learn how to learn as fast as possible and just to dive and run and go. I have a personality style where I like to respond, then think about what I'm doing. It has its plus and minuses with that, can get me into trouble from time to time. But I have found out that over the years, that's actually been a pretty good, how do we say, it's a good thing because I use it to my advantage. A lot of people like you were saying, be perfect in a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I have found out that being perfect is actually the things that slows you down the most.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that I talk to all the time that want to be social influencers, want to get into this market or that market, but they want everything to be perfect first. And perfection is the enemy of speed. And there's nothing like just diving in and figuring it out. I have to say I've done that a million things in my life. Some have burned me pretty good, but at the same time, progress is going to happen no matter what. And you just got to jump in with both feet and figure it out. So I got into the trades from just the product side. I learned a lot just in material and getting it out into dealing with, at the time, the company had 7 crews. So I spent a lot of time dealing with putting in orders with suppliers, getting it picked up and delivered, and learned that side of the business first, which actually was a huge blessing to me, learning that side first. And then eventually I moved into the field. Didn't stay with that company too long. Eventually got into owning my own business. I've had that going for about 6 years now. And mainly the reason I got into owning my own company was just because I saw too often customers getting screwed, not only in the quality of work that they were paying for, but also too just with the absorbent amount of extras, which I know that's going to happen no matter what. And I always tell people up front, I like to give you everything up front so that you don't have to worry about getting hit with extras, but I can't see the future and what someone else has done.
Yes.
So I take the time to just go through and educate people on why I use the products that I do, the amount of preparation I go into stuff, and just a lot of it comes down to just how neat you're able to keep a job site. A lot of times clients are like, yeah, I don't really know what that means until you show them. So you can be the best at what you're doing, but a lot of times guys are just not tidy and neat. And that goes a long way in how people see you and how that presents. I'm sure you've had that with other contractors that you dealt with. They may be good at what they do, but man, they can, how do we say, leave a mess of mayhem behind them.
Oh, yeah. All right. And that's all we try to do is, provide as good a service as that, as we possibly can, because, we're held accountable to that. Right. And so what has been some of the, you mentioned, like, you started your own business. And so I love what you're talking about with, school being, it taught you how to learn fast.
Yeah.
And, but I noticed you didn't say that, okay, school prepped me directly for the job that I'm doing. Right. And so it's
if I could have gone back, 20 years ago and talked to myself back in high school, I would have said, don't go to school. Don't go get the education. I had an opportunity to play ball in college, but I would have said, go take that opportunity, because I learned a ton from there, just learning how to hustle and work ethic and being committed and staying. The 100 times that I wanted to quit, it was just like, no, you're not a quitter. Quitters don't, you got to push that stuff out of your head and run and move and become the best person you can be on the diamond. And never was the fastest person, never was the strongest person, never was the skinniest person, but I had a dream and I made it happen. I had an opportunity that I capitalized on, played with some guys that you knew from Clarkston when I was there. And I would never trade any of those moments for all the money in the world. I mean, because those are definitely where I discovered who I wanted to be. I knew I didn't want to be average, and I didn't want to just sit back and expect someone to hand it to me. And I had to go out and earn it. I would say that I didn't have good numbers by any means, but at the same time, I was just one of those guys that you could count on in situations, and I loved the pressure. And so for me in college, I was the closer. I love being the closer. I love being that guy people could turn to in tight situations. And I think that's one thing that's really translated well into my working career, is wanting to have, the opportunity to be the last guy on the field, so to speak. And, be the one that, you can close, regardless if it's in sales or, if you're like in a bowling league or softball, whatever. I mean, you want to be that last guy.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And it again, it just, it reiterates what you're talking about before, to where, like when you're a closer, there's so many things that translates, right? But when you're a closer, you don't have the opportunity to, to think about what you're doing. Like you just have to go perform right then and there. It's in a high pressure situation, or what's at least perceived as a high pressure situation. When you're a 20-year-old kid, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, but now, with being in sales, being in real estate, that, there's times it's feast or famine.
Yep.
And you put a lot of pressure on yourself of like, if I don't close this deal tonight, I don't know where we're going to be able to afford groceries or whatever.
Exactly.
And you have to have the mindset that it's not about me, it's what I can do for the client.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, especially being in the trades, there's a lot of people out there that do things not ethically, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there. And a lot of people get taken advantage of time and time again. And I do a lot of cleanup for a lot of other contractors all the time. And sadly, there's a lot of bad stereotypes in the industry. And I'm sure you battle that with real estate. And for me, just building a relationship with clients and assuring them that I'm not like the other person that you hired or that you kicked off the job 2 years ago and you've been super nervous about having someone come and clean it up. And 9 times out of 10, those clients are the ones that refer me to the amount of like more and more business than I know what to do with now. So,
right. I mean, and I think that's what you're facing as, as a contractor, right? Because, when, when people ask for, for a realtor, they'll ask, okay, give me a producing realtor or something along those lines, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the battle that you're fighting as a contractor, the question that I always get when people are asking me for referrals, for folks in your field,
mm-hmm.
and that, like, give me an honest one, right? Because there's the perception that whenever it's something that maybe somebody doesn't really know, like, if I'm hiring you, is because I don't necessarily know how to turn a wrench as well as you do, right?
Yeah.
Or, I can't do the carpentry work. I can't do the electrical, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
I need to hire that out. And so since I don't know much about it, I need somebody who's not going to take advantage of me.
Well, like I said, most of the time that I'm with a client, I'm literally educating them on things to look out for, things that I come across. And there's many a times where I sit down and I say, these are things that, I see you've gone through. These are the things that you should avoid in the future. And just educating them on the process of things.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times have you shown a client and you're like, I see some iffiness with the foundation, should get inspected. You need to have a professional take a look, things like that. Sometimes it's just a minor thing, but you know what? A lot of times it's a CYA. I mean, we are in industries where people are a little too happy when it comes to things. And it honestly can be a real detriment to just you trying to do what you do. And all you're trying to do is just help people.
Right.
And a lot of times, because there's such a stigma in the world of real estate and contracting, mm-hmm. that everyone thinks you're just out to make a buck. And you're like, if I were out to make a buck, I would probably not be taking time away from my family right now to be spending time with you.
Exactly.
There's a lot of other things I could be doing other than spending my Saturday afternoon and morning showing you 4 different houses that you're not interested in.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, so I love that you started your own business.
Mm-hmm.
And so what goes into that decision? So you're 6 years into it, I believe you said, right? 5 or 6 years. And so 6 years into it. And so what's advice that you would give to yourself 6 years ago based upon what you know now about operating your own business, being an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. My first one would be never go into business with family. Um, I originally got into business with my father-in-law, who had ran his own thing for years and was looking at a way to kind of become more of a part-time and retire.
Sure.
Well, when you're dealing with someone who's been a business owner for 30 plus years, he's pretty set in his ways. And so when I was trying to be more assertive and take over leadership, roles and actually taking over ownership of my own company, because everything was in my name and still is in my name. And my checks were, all his paychecks had my name on the bottom, not his. He wanted to micromanage, and I would definitely tell, for the sake of relationships are more important than money and everything else. I would just say, don't go into business with family. I built up the company where I had 9 employees, 2 sales guys. I had 3 full-time crews that were out. I was making good money, but man, it was a full-time babysitting effort. Big payrolls. A lot of times in those, seasons, it's great that you're making, good money, but at the same time, when clients don't want to pay, or they're conveniently, don't have the funds accessible, trying to float, a 5-figure a week payroll can get a little stressful, because you're literally talking about families, not the difference for them, is they don't have the funds, because in the trades, guys are usually week to week, paycheck to paycheck. Most guys are out of money by Tuesday. And so they're like, I don't know where I'm going to come up with the money to, pay bills. And it's like, I'm sorry you don't know how to manage your own funds. That's not my problem. Guys come to me, hey, can I get money for gas? That stuff, like, I don't have money for an oil change. I got a flat tire. It became one of those things I was just looked at as a cash cow for them. And I'm like, and so I've actually scaled back. And I went down to having just 2 guys for a couple of years. Those guys were talking about how they wanted to make more money, and I offered them an opportunity to get in business together. And they're like, I'd rather just kind of sit back and be lazy and just collect a paycheck. And I said, fine. If you're not interested in doing a partnership, and having an equity stake in this and building this together, then we're just going to separate ways.
Right.
So for me, I've actually gone down to doing everything by myself, doing all the sales and marketing, networking and production and everything else in between. And I've honestly realized, as fun as it is to deal with clientele and to sell jobs and stuff like that, it's not nearly as much fun to do all the production yourself and not have any help. But I will say this, the amount of callbacks that I get for warranty work has gone down to 0 over the last 2 years. And also, too, the quality of work that I'm doing is at my level and not having to keep constantly pushing people up. You need to elevate. I mean, it was always a battle with guys just wanting to do just enough to have it be passable in the customer's eyes.
Right. And essentially, and again, kind of going, it reiterates what you were talking about before. Like, you're not just trying to, all right, let me just kind of haphazardly, get this job done so I can collect this check and, dish out payroll. Then I can kind of have my cake too. The reality is that, from what I'm hearing from you is, as you continue to build this business over the last 6 years, that you were hyper focused on building also a culture within that business. Yeah. And so,
and as a business owner, you have a standard that you want everybody else to elevate to. And the human nature is to do as much as, as little as possible to get the maximum amount out. But those 2 things can't happen. Either you come up to the same level as what the expectations are, or you fall off.
Yeah.
And trying to push people up, and doing something where they just don't have the drive to do it the way that you do, is honestly one of the most frustrating things about dealing with people, especially in the trades, that I'm really at my wit's end with dealing with people, especially during what we're going through as a nation right now. Trying to find people that actually want to work, that don't want to just sit around and collect government cheese, has actually become a very, very big problem.
Yeah.
Not just me, but I know all contractors across the board are in desperate need of help.
Yeah.
But no one wants to work because I'm not willing to pay a guy $1,000 a week, because that's not what he's in our industry. That's not what he's worth. Do I agree that people are underpaid in this industry? 100%.
Yeah.
But when you're the one that's not the one in control and have all the liability, there's no way I'd ever pay a guy $1,000 unless he was able to work at the rate that I am and turn out the quality. But those guys are so far and few in between. And at that point, they're subcontractors and they want to do their own thing anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And, and the thing is too, in that, in that situation is, kind of lost my train of thought just a little bit, so bear with me. But I was kind of going back initially. We were talking about wanting to they have to match the work ethic and what you're talking about. Yeah. And I immediately was thinking of I'm trying to teach my youngest daughter how to read right now, and she fights me on it.
What's wrong with that?
I don't want to. Well, come on, let's go. Like, you got to have the drive. You got to want to do this.
Mental toughness out of a 3 or 4-year-old is a little tougher to instill.
Oh, so it's like my brain immediately goes there. Yeah. But at the same time too, like, you're bearing all the risk. Like, you'd love to be able to, to be able to pay that individual and so on and so forth. But at the same time, work for it, and so no, I totally get it. Totally understand. Go ahead.
I was say, because that's the one thing I've stayed self-employed just because I know my worth and my value. Mm-hmm. And a company's not going to ever pay you what you're worth, and without going too crazy. But at the same time, a lot of people out there settle. Yeah. Like, if I can make 30 or 40, 50 grand a year, that's good. But at the same time, it's like, well, who said 50 or 60 or 70, 80 or $100,000 is enough money? Mm-hmm. If your dreams are that small, you're never going to be forced to go outside of that and actually do something.
Right.
Everyone that I know that's got side hustles is like because they want more. Whether it's a dream of going on a family vacation and not having to go into debt for it, or if it's like, I'd love to be able to have a cash Christmas, something. You have to have a reason why you're willing to sacrifice and put the extra time and energy, effort in. And not a lot of people do.
Right.
And honestly, it's pretty sad because it doesn't really take that much to differentiate yourself from the masses. It really doesn't. You think a little differently, you educate yourself. And that's the one thing I always am stressing with people that, especially business owners, they're like, if you want to go into business for yourself, it's amazing. It's fantastic. But you have to be willing to keep your education process up. And I'm not saying getting more certificates or that type of stuff. You got to learn to read, like what you're saying. You have to be willing to read leadership books. You have to be willing to read people skill books. You have to be constantly evolving and changing your mindset. Because I know I'm not going to be doing this the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. I'm 33. My body can't keep doing this forever. I know that. I'm not going to be naive. Do I enjoy doing what I'm doing? Yeah. Am I good at it? Absolutely. But I do know that this is not my end goal with doing this forever. Yeah.
Yeah. There's I like I say the same thing with with education, right? And the phrase I use is I'm not a lifer. I love what I do. I've been teaching now for over 16 years, and this coming school year it's going to be a little bit crazy because of everything going on right now.
Just a little bit.
But I know that I'm not a lifer. I'm going to have my 25 years. Mm-hmm. And that'll be sufficient. And it sounds like kind of like the same thing. Like, I enjoy this, but I'm not a lifer. Uh-huh. And it sounds like when we spoke earlier today that you're currently working on another endeavor. So dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, it was one of those things that I wasn't really looking for something, but I also knew too that being one income minded is not a good idea. I mean, I don't care what wealth management book you're talking about, or if you're talking, like one of my favorite authors, just from a business perspective, is Robert Kiyosaki. And he's always talking about how you got to have multiple streams of income. One of my favorite board games to play with my oldest, who's 12, is the cash flow game. He doesn't understand the concepts exactly yet, but he's like, okay, I do know I need to get to the outside ring because that's where the more money can be made. And it's not trading time for money.
Right.
And so for me, having the opportunity to learn a new skill set and mindset, getting into the financial services industry, honestly, it's a natural transition for me because all I do as a contractor is just educate clients. Yeah. And people are like, well, you're in sales already. If you think a salesperson is sitting there trying to push product and service upon you, then you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah.
It should be just an education process, building a relationship. 90% of my sales is just because people like me.
Yep.
If you're not personable, if they don't trust you, like I'm sure you've read the book 5 Love Languages or at least heard of it.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
To me, there should be a 6th one. It should be trust. Like to me, that's the biggest thing that kind of trumps them all. I mean, if you can't trust who you're about to deal with, especially as someone who's going to be in your house, being around your family, around your dogs, around your kids, that type of stuff, you have to trust them, at a level that some people just don't like extending that trust. And I've had clients that are like, we really like you, but we just don't want you in our house.
Mm-hmm.
That's your call. I mean, it's not just me, it's just people in general. And that's a tough way to live if you just are not trusting people. Do I get burned? Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I think, you are 100% correct. I'm 100% on board with what you're saying. Because again, whenever you're dealing with sales, and let's face it, when we're talking about side hustles, most of side hustles is sales, right? And I mean, it sounds so cliche.
Life is sales. It's not just a side hustle. That's life.
Right.
You're selling yourself to a friend. You're selling yourself to your wife. I mean, when you're dating someone, that's the biggest sales job of it all. I mean, come on. Please. People, I don't know how to sell. You married? Yep. Do you have kids? Yep. And do you have a job? Yep. Well, you've been selling yourself for a long time. You just haven't figured out the connections yet. Please.
Because let's face it, we've been fighting the battle of trying to convince our wives that we're a lot better people than we actually are for how long.
See? What if you're smart? She's still the better half.
She buys it. She believes it. So.
Right?
As far as she knows, I'm a nice guy. So.
See? And you're constantly telling your kids why it's important to brush your teeth, and to eat your vegetables and all that type of stuff.
Exactly.
And like I said, you just got to be able to be around the right group of people that are going to push you to do more in life and get where you want to be.
Yeah.
And if for you, it's like, hey, I'm good with this type of income level and these are my dreams, that's fine. But like for me, I see a lot of injustice in the world. And for me, I just want to be able to do my part to kind of correct it, and that's one of the things, especially with this pandemic, you find out that the average person doesn't have $500 in a savings account. Most people are basically one broke, a car situation or, a daycare situation or a sickness or an illness away from being completely financially destitute.
Yeah.
And if you can sit back and just send, just the biggest problem like it is like with you with marketing, getting in people in front of the right market of people and just giving them the tips and tricks and basically educating them how to just be financially educated.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that's, and that's the big point, right? I think you mentioned earlier like there's nothing wrong with, making that $30,000 to $40,000 or $50,000 a year, nothing wrong with that. But, the issue then becomes is, okay, are you making 30 to 40, but you have $100,000 taste?
And that's the problem. Most people are overspending 20 to 30% of what they bring in. I mean, how many times I'm sure you've heard Dave Wilson say from stage, it was like if you make $1 but you spend $1.50, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah.
That's the American debt, credit card debt in this country is average of $16,000.
Yeah.
And a 25% interest rate is just astronomically just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
But people can't think outside of how to actually get out, like to put a game plan together and attack that and get rid of it. And when you can sit down and show people in a 30-minute time frame how to attack that and debt stack and show them financial principles and how to start saving, and people are like mind blown. I mean, it's just education.
Yeah.
The financial IQ of this country is so poor.
Right. Well, I guess but the good news on that side, like if there's a silver lining in all of that, it would be that sometimes that forces people to hit rock bottom. And in which case it forces them to get up and hustle, right? Because you can't dip your toe in the water if you're in the midst of a financial hurricane.
Over the last 4 months.
So that means that you've got to get out and you've got to do the work. You've got no other choice, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so if there's one silver lining with all of that is just maybe it's that realization. My back's against the wall. Now I have to go out and do these things that I'm uncomfortable doing now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll just go out and do it.
Well, that's the beauty about this country. You're not pigeonholed into being in one small economic demographic. You're not in a caste system, and you have to stay there because that's what your family is for the last 5 or 6 generations.
Yeah.
You have the ability to come to this country and do whatever you want to do. I mean, how many times do you hear about someone that was an immigrant, came here, and now they're a multimillionaire?
Mm-hmm.
And all they did was they applied the same work ethic they had over there and put it over here. And they're willing to do things others aren't.
And it meant opportunity.
Yes, opportunity is the greatest thing this country has to offer, but also too, it's the biggest curse this country has to offer too. Yeah. The great thing about dealing with people, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah. What's kind of going back to what Dave says sometimes, it's like how good we have it as Americans, right? To where if you've taken a warm shower, driven in a car, turned on a light, you've done something that I don't know what the number was. I'll just throw a random one out there. Like 80% of the world has never done before. If you've done those 3 things, 80% of the world hasn't done all 3 of those things.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, that's how good it is. But all right. So I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Are you ready to enter into the gauntlet?
Let's do it.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. I've got 5 questions for you, and for everybody watching at home. Okay, I'm going to ask the questions to Joshua, and he's not going to provide his answer just yet. Okay, but in the comment section, I want you to give your answers to these questions. And after all 5, go ahead and hit send. And if your 5 answers matches Joshua's, then I will send you a gift card to a Seattle-based, nationally recognized coffee chain.
Maybe green and black. Maybe.
Yeah. Like a venti or something like that. I don't know. But
they speak French. I have no idea what it is.
something. All right, Joshua, you ready for the gauntlet?
Let's do it.
All right. So first one is kind of work related, and so you're on the job site, and you have to get your hands a little bit dirty on the job site. Which would you rather? Get your hands dirty doing carpentry or electrical?
You want me to answer now?
Nope.
Okay.
Are you ready for question 2?
Yep.
All right. So going to a good steakhouse, best one in the region. I'm not a classy guy, so I couldn't throw a name out there. I have no idea. You're going to a steakhouse. So let me ask you. All right. Are you getting the prime rib or are you getting the filet?
Ooh. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Now, you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. I probably should have put this name in there, but I'm going to give the name of 2 real influencers. One really kind of the last decade, and one of like currently and going forward, probably for the next decade. All right. And so out of these influencers, okay, Gary Vee or Dave Ramsey?
Ooh. Vaynerchuk or Ramsey. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And they both have totally different philosophies too.
Oh yeah, different personalities, but like similar but different,
I remember reading Gary's book in college, just first one he came out with, and that one just blew my mind.
Crushed it.
A super big impression on just how he did things, especially with his wine business.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Monster now. Just absolute monster.
All right. Question 4. All right. As we're heading into the rest of this summer, baseball season's about to start again in earnest this Friday, actually in a couple of days. And so, given all the conditions, we've got COVID, we've got in just family atmosphere, family enjoyment. You're taking the kids to a ball game. Are you going to Comerica Park or JP on the field?
Oh yeah, I know the answer to that one, hands down.
Also, keeping in mind, like the product on the field, maybe.
I understand where you're coming at, but I know my answer. So.
All right. Okay. Now, you and your wife. This is just a couple's trip. No kids. All right. Couple's trip, and
long overdue.
Are you taking this couple's trip up north, or are you? It's domestic. So I'm not saying okay. Are you going up north or going to Fiji? No. Domestic. So still in the United States, continental United States, not even Hawaii and Alaska. continental United States or up north?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So those are the 5 questions. For those of you watching at home, make sure that you now enter into the comment section, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to get Joshua's answers here. Yeah, that John Draw's Real Estate Family is a saint, sponsoring this program for the last 9 weeks. So,
oh man, I sure hope so. It's not your competition be taking over your own real estate empire.
Right. If I have other realtors starting to advertise on my show, then maybe I should focus more on my show instead of real estate.
Oh man.
All right. Let's go through these. All right. Question 1. Let's get these answers. Carpentry or electrical? Get your hands dirty. Which one are you doing?
Carpentry, hands down.
All right. Why is that?
For me, I love working with wood, and there's nothing like the smell of sawdust to me, especially when you're dealing with the different type of species. Freshly cut cedar, I don't think there's a much nicer smell than that, in my opinion. Electrical there's nothing wrong. I can do electrical. I can rewire my whole house if I had to. That's the one thing that's nice about having this skill set and ability. I don't have to call too many people if I need to. But a lot of the times, though, you don't realize a lot of little debris you leave behind. And especially with being around clients and dogs and pets and stuff like that and kids, you just don't want to leave that stuff for potentially to, get punctured, on the bottom of their foot or step on, and,
Yeah.
It can be interesting.
Yeah, I would be with you there, and I worked a little construction in my summers at university, but to sit here and say that I can do all these jobs on my own, I can't. I hire it out. But I would answer this. My answer would probably be the same, because in a lot of ways I would view carpentry as a bit more stress relieving, and electrical as like stress creating.
I hear you on that one. That's the one thing with carpentry, it's not that big of a deal to pull it apart and reset it or get another piece. You turn on a switch and you don't get power. It's a little more frustrating.
So, all right.
So I have my cousin on speed dial half the time. Who's an electrician down in Indiana. So, Ohio. But yeah.
All right. Question 2. All right. So, finest steakhouse in the region. You going prime rib or you going filet?
Well, I'll answer 2 questions on that one. Our favorite steakhouse, my wife and I, is Lucky's. I don't know if you've ever been, but definitely a really good family establishment. And I'm a filet guy, hands down.
That's in Orion, isn't it? Isn't Lucky's in Orion?
They have several locations. They have one in Fenton. There's one up in Lapeer. Davison. And I think there's one out in Rochester, something like that. They have a handful of locations. So I guess who knows what's going to happen. So.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what was your answer?
Filet.
Going the filet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And how are you getting that cooked?
Oh, I'm medium rare all day.
There you go.
I want it bleeding on the plate,
Oh, I never understood people who want a hockey puck. Like,
I don't get it either.
A hockey puck and some ketchup. Like, what? Come on. What are you doing?
If you wanted that, we might as well just put it in the meat grinder and made some really nice burgers out of it or something. So,
or go to the jerky hut there north of Saginaw.
There we go.
It's the same thing. All right. Now I'm interested to get your answer on this one. We going Gary V or we going Dave Ramsey?
I love Gary. I think he's a great promoter. He's very good. I like his concepts and stuff like that. But Dave, I think honestly, I wish more people knew about what he preached and what he talked about. I think we'd have a lot more financial aptitude in this country if that were the case. And in fact, a lot of times I'll sit down with clients, and I do make a sale. I will actually give his books away. I mean, I think the brand that he's built around this country needing to be debt free, financial freedom and independence, is a must. Everyone wants it, but no one really knows how to get there.
Yeah.
And it's really not that complicated in this system that we have, the free enterprise system, to create wealth and a lot of generational wealth by using the features that are available to us, but not a lot of people know about. So I would have to go say Ramsey.
All right. Very good. Well, we're better than we deserve then, right? All right. Family night out at the ballpark. My question is, which ballpark?
Yeah, I hear you. I've been down to Comerica Park. It's great, but I will say the family atmosphere at Jimmy John's Field. And for me, I love seeing the new recruits, people that are really busting their butt that want to make it to the next level. That's why, for me, I'm a college fan. I love college sports, basketball, football, baseball. I'll watch that any day over the professionals. I really will. I mean, I love seeing the guys want to grind, and the hustle effort that comes out of them is way bigger than what you see at the professional level.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other cool thing, if I can just chime in real quick. I agree with you as well with Jimmy John's Field. I've had the opportunity, because obviously, this. I for a lot of years I coached baseball at the high school, and I've had the opportunity of going to Jimmy John's Field and watching a couple former players play out there. Cool. One was Matt Rogers, who's just one of my just favorite people all around. He just an extremely nice kid, young man. Extremely hard worker, just a great heart, great soul. Love that kid. I was happy to go out there and watch him play. And kid, he's like 26 now. But and then another one, Max Bain, who grew into getting a professional contract because
really.
He in high school he was a pitcher his senior year. And for us, he was probably like maybe our number two, number three high school pitcher. So you can kind of get the idea there, right? And went out to Northwood, and and by the time he graduated from Northwood, he was like touching like low 90s on the gun. And so they brought him out there to Jimmy John's Field, and he got a contract to play out there, and then through the work there, he was hitting upper 90s. Now he's drafted, and I think he's playing single A ball somewhere.
See, that's the difference between having someone who's an okay coach and then someone who has got coaching dissected inside and out and knows how to develop people and players. And that's why it's so important to have a really good coach in your corner, because you can take someone with an average. Like John Maxwell says, the law of the lid. You never know what someone's full potential is.
Yeah.
And when you have the right coaching, it makes a world of difference. I saw guys in college. We didn't have the best coaches, but we had guys that knew how to at least get strength training and that type of stuff and run the drills. And you'd see guys that would come in throwing, 78, 79, 82, and they'd come out brushing 90 just because they had never had good mechanical training or like the right workouts, that type of stuff. It makes a huge difference.
It does.
So a good buddy of mine that I played ball with in college, or not in college, but in high school, Aaron Powell, if you remember that name at all.
Oh, yeah.
He actually, and when he graduated from college, he was throwing 96. And I was like, dude, where'd that come from? Oh, that must be nice.
I don't think I can hit 96 on the gun if I was 10 feet away.
I don't think I could hit 96 if I had a machine that could throw 96. I mean, there's no way. Like, maybe my car, would be about the only way I'd get 96 with a baseball in my hand. That's about it nowadays.
So, but, yeah. All right. So question 5. All right. Question 5. And this is couples retreat. So you and the wife and vacay. Are you going to head up north to Pure, Michigan, or, I've always wanted to go here. So go ahead.
My wife's biggest dream is to be able to go spend like a 2 or 3 month trip in Ireland, and I've always wanted to play St. Andrews. So hey, might as well make the two become a reality. So
Okay.
that's on our dream board, and that's definitely one thing that we're going to make happen here. So
All right, fair enough. And so, all right, well, let's see here. We have let's see, Shane Hines. Thanks for visiting in here tonight, Shane. And thanks for your input. All right, so that is our show for tonight.
awesome.
And Joshua, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to come on, and for sharing your story, for being willing to enter the gauntlet, and for the work that you continue to do. I'll post one more time here with Integrity Contracting. I also posted the link. So for those of you that are interested in looking for an honest, an honest contractor who is going to get a great job done, in the link in the comment section here, I linked Joshua's Facebook page. You can see examples of his work at Integrity Contracting there. And so Joshua, any kind of last words for the listening audience, or just in general?
No, just in general, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to put this all together. I mean, your content's fantastic. I've checked out several of your other videos, and just the quality that you have into your broadcast is definitely, it's good to see, because not a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into this, and you can tell that you've really spent your time and energy and research doing what you've done. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Keep leading the charge.
It helps if you like doing it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of podcasts, but for me, my only thing that I would want to add is, I don't care where you're at in life. Take the time to start listening to those you want to be around. Listen to a good podcast. One of my favorite podcasts, like a little promo throw out, is by a guy who goes to Kensington. His name's Chris Cook. It's called Win Today. Okay. Talks about your mental health, your physical health, kind of like how it all, and he's got phenomenal content, and you got to be around those people you want to be like. I mean, you can emulate people all you want, but if you're not around the right group, I mean, if you want to stay broke, in my opinion, keep going to the bars, keep, spending money on stuff that you don't have money for. Yeah. But if you want to become, like something else, you got to really change things. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I love working with people on and helping people. But at the same time, it's only a suggestion. You at the end of the day have to make the final decision, not me. Yeah. You can only pull someone along. You can never force them to do anything they don't want to do. So
Exactly. Yeah. And as you mentioned, there's ample opportunity, because of where we happen to be born,
Oh, for sure.
Or where we happen to live. And so,
absolutely.
So tremendous opportunity and tremendous, frankly, responsibility. I think, but that's a whole other discussion. But
we got time for another time.
So, but Joshua, I want to thank you. Go ahead and stay on. I'll link up with you in just a moment.
All right.
But that is our show for this week. And thank you again for being willing to meet me here at 7:30. And next week, actually, we're going to have a surprise guest next week as well. And I'll drop some clues throughout the course of the rest of this week. So that being said, we'll be back to our normally scheduled time next week. That is 7:00 on Tuesday. And for season 1, we only have 2 more episodes left. So we'll have the series finale. I'm excited to bring on. I've already got the finale all set up. So we've got 2 more weeks of this season, and then we'll shift things around. But that being said, that's all I have. Enjoy your day. It's going to rain a little bit, but that's a good thing. And God bless.